Good morning and welcome to the Health Trust Software HFAX webinar. My name is Grant and I'll be taking you through the HFAX module today. For those of you who attended our webinar on 6/4/2013, this is going to look a little bit different. We had some audio troubles that day, a really bad echo. So we're hoping that by re-recording we'll eliminate that echo. We're going to go over the same exact thing, the same exact layout, so I hope you'll follow along with me as we go. First of all, we're going to log into our home screen here. And we'll get logged in there to our home screen. The first thing I'd like to point out to you is our Help tab. So if you'll go over here to Help and Support, in order to begin your HFAX account setup, if you haven't had the eFax set up previously, you'll need to go in here and go over to Manuals, and what we want you to do is download a copy of this HFaxing manual. So if you'll click on that link, it should download for you in just a few seconds, and there we have our HFax manual. Now the last two pages are what we're going to address right now. In order to set up your HFax account, you have to fill out a Fax Line Authorization form. So let me get down here to the last two pages. I believe it's page 16, yes, is our Fax Line Authorization form, as you see there. And in order to set up your account, you'll first need to fill out this form, and you can either fax it to us at this number, 888-891-3521, or you can mail it to our office here to get your HFax account set up. Of course, you'll fill out all this information. You can request as many fax lines as you want. The pricing is $5 per month for each fax number, plus 0.2 cents, almost 3 cents per minute. And there's all that information. One other thing I'd like to point out here is your preferred fax area code. What happens when you send this in is we are going to assign you a number. And so if you want that to be a toll-free number, you can circle your preference there. If you'd prefer it to be a local area code, you'd need to enter that there and check that check box. And of course you'll want to sign this and send it in. As I said, you can fax or mail that in to us. Once we receive that, as I said, we'll process it. The process usually takes about 48 to 72 hours to get you your new fax number. Then we will email you a a confirmation with your new fax number in it. And once you have that, we'll show you how to go in and set up the rest of your account. If you want to keep your current number, if you have a fax number already for your agency and you'd like to keep your current fax number, you'll need to fill out this, looks like page 14. I guess this was page 13, our Fax Line Authorization form. Page 14 is the Faxage Letter of Authorization. And this you will need to fill out with your name, your business name, the number to be transferred, and you'll fax this in to us again at this number, 888-891-3521. Excuse me. You'll also need to fax a copy of your most recent bill from your current provider along with this form, and that bill should show your name, your service address, and your account number. There is a one-time charge of $20 to port your number, but you'll fill this out, you'll sign it, date it, and you can fax that to us. It is important to note that this process will take a minimum of 10 business days, and in some cases excuse me again, can take more than 30 days to complete. And so we just want you to be aware of that it can take up to 30 days to complete porting your number over. Okay, those are the forms you need. Again, those are found under the Help tab, and you can simply print this form off from within this window. I do want to take a little bit of time to show you how to create a fax cover sheet that will be compatible with the software. Some of you probably already have a fax cover sheet that you use at your agency, and if you have that saved electronically, you can probably just open that up. But if you're creating one from scratch, you can go over here to your Start menu and find Microsoft Word. The great thing about Microsoft Word is if you go over here to File and New, they give you a whole list of documents that you can create. If you'll click on this Faxes icon, there's a whole list of fax cover sheets that are already pre-formatted for you. All you have to go in is go in and fill your information in for your agency. So we'll click on one of these, and as long as you're connected to the internet, you can click download and it'll open that right up for you. Now while we're going to fill this out in Word, we're going to save it as a PDF file, and we'll show you how to do that as we go. There's some obvious fields that we want to leave blank, like the to field here. We want to be able for the software to recognize that and fill it out, and so we want to leave that blank. What we don't want to leave blank is the from field. So here we could enter our agency. We'll leave that blank for number of pages. We'll leave the date blank. We might want to add a field for our phone number or our fax number. So we might want to change this field to say fax, and then we could enter our fax number there. That way it appears on our cover sheet every time we send it. Now, this is important. When we go to save it, we'll click on Save As, and we don't want to save it as a Word document. We want to save it as a PDF document. So we need to scroll down our list here and click PDF. I'm going to save it as ABC Fax Cover Sheet. And we'll click Save. Notice it'll open a new window, and now we're in Adobe in a PDF file. It's going to be important that you have access to Adobe software or another PDF editing software, because this next part is what's going to allow your cover sheet to be filled out by the software. And in order to do that, we have to enter form fields. I'm going to show you how to do that using Adobe Acrobat. You'll click this Edit button, and we can go to Edit Text and Images, and it'll open this nice editing window over here. I'm going to scroll down, and here where it says Forms, I'm going to click the down arrow, and we're going to create some forms inside of this field. I'm going to cancel that and click Edit here. Gives me this message. It says currently there are no form fields in this PDF. Do you want Acrobat to detect form fields for you? I'm going to click Yes, and we'll see what it comes up with. Okay, it looks like the only form fields that it recognized, and they'll pop up like that when you scroll over them, are just these click boxes and the comments box. So in order for me to enter more form fields, I'm going to go up here to Add New Fields, and we'll click Add a Text Field. It'll give me this box that I can place anywhere. I'm going to place it there, and I'm going to title it To. If I want to make it a required field, I can simply click this required field box and then click off of it, and there it is. In red means it's a required field. If I want to add a field for the recipient fax number, I can place that right there. I want to title it Recipient Fax Number. That way, when it is uploaded into the software, the user who's viewing this will know that they need to enter the recipient's fax number there, and that that field will be populated automatically. We will probably want to make that a required field as well. The rest of it, you can decide what fields you definitely want in there. We want our page numbers. We can say number of pages. You can see if it's not a required field, it'll be in black like that. This comments box, I don't really like where it's at, so I'm going to drag it down here to where the comment section is. I'm also going to make it a lot bigger. That way it's easier to see. Okay. Let's add our date field. Okay, now that we have all of our our form fields, our form fields are set up, we need to save this. That way when we enter it into the software, these fields will pop up as the user is filling out the cover sheet, and they will be populated as they're doing that. So I'm going to close out of this. Get out of Word, and let's go back into the software now. Okay, in order to complete your setup in the software, let's say that you've sent your Fax Line Authorization form in, you've received the email from us with your new fax number. What you're going to do is go to the Administration tab. Right here, the Administration tab, and you're going to go to Company Settings. Once you're in this page titled Edit Company Settings, you'll go to the Components tab. Scroll down until you see this H-Faxing option, and we want to click this link that says Set Up H-Fax Accounts. So when we click on that, this will pop up, and we'll want to click Add Account. I'm going to find my cover sheet that I just created. Let's say that I want to set up an account just specifically for me. I could say Grant Fax for the account name. I can choose whichever fax number I want it to be associated with. And if I just want to limit to myself, I would choose myself there, and I'd click Submit. I'd get this message that said the account and cover sheet are saved. And if I refresh this page, there's my new account. Let me show you how to set up an account, a fax account, for a group. So let's click Add Account again. I'll maximize this so we can all see it better. We'll find a cover sheet. And let's say we just want to set this one up for office staff. Or, excuse me, we could say administration. Select the fax number. And then we can simply click administration from our user groups if you have those set up. And we'll click submit. We'll get that same message. And again, if we refresh, there we have our administration, and it's only limited to those who are added to the administration user group. Let's talk about sending a fax from within the system. To do that, you'll need to go to the Orders tab, scroll down to the H faxes, and this little pop-up window will say Send H fax. So let's click that. And here we have our fields to fill out. So let's fill out our fax number. Who it's to. We'll need to choose a fax account. A subject. A message. And we can choose a PDF file from within our computer. Notice over here it'll give us a nice preview of it. And we'll click submit. Sometimes it'll take a little bit for this page to refresh. I will tell you, every time you click submit, it's going to send another fax in that same fax. So just wait for it, and like you see here, it will say successfully sent fax, and it'll give us our job ID number there. To check that, we can go back up to the Orders tab, scroll down and click the H faxes button, and we can see here's the fax we just sent, and you can see right now it's in a pending status. Once the fax is completely sent, this should update and say success. In order to update our list, we can click this refresh list button. May take it a little bit. While we're waiting on that, let me show you this option. If you'd like to view a confirmation page from one of these faxes that has successfully been transmitted, just click on it, click that download button, and that page will open up in a new window. Let me zoom in a bit for us. And you can see it gives us our job ID number, the number of pages, status, transmit time, where it was sent. It also gives us the preview from the first page of that document. If you want that full fax, you can download that here. This archive button will simply just remove it from your screen. It doesn't go out of the system, it just removes it from your screen because you know that it's already been successfully sent. And we're still waiting on our fax to transmit. Well, we'll come back to it in a moment. While we're waiting on it, let's go to the Receive tab, and we can show you how to process a received fax. So here we have our Receive tabs, and you can see we have 2 unprocessed faxes. So in order to begin processing, we want to click this Process button. It'll pull up this page for us where we can view the entire fax. And there's our fax cover sheet. So using these fields, we can separate every page of the fax by patient, by document, and I'll show you how to do that. You can see here the first page is the fax cover sheet. And so if we want to separate that out, we can just put page 1 through page 1. We'll title it Fax Cover Sheet. We can see the medical records for Johnny Carson, so we'll find Johnny Carson in here. Is our patient. We'll select Fax Cover Sheet there. Under Category, since it's a Fax Cover Sheet, we don't really need to select anything here. We can just click the Add button. As you see, that'll give us a whole list of new fields here to fill out. So we can scroll on down our page. And it looks like starting on page 2 we have a plan of care. So we'll enter 2 there. And we'll continue scrolling down to try and find out where this plan of care ends. Looks like we're on page 4. We still have a plan of care. This is page 5. And we're still looking at a plan of treatment, so the end of a plan of care. And as we see here on page 6, we have a communication note. So we know that the plan of care ended on page 5. We'll enter that there. We'll title it Plan of Care. It was for Mr. Johnny Carson again, so we'll find him, add his name, title it Plan of Care. We could select SN for Skilled Nursing under Category and click the Add button again. As we see, page 6 begins our progress note. It says progress note there. So let's scroll down. You can use these two. Here's page 7, still a progress note. Page 8, we can see, begins a skilled nurse routine visit. So we would put from page 6 to 7 is our progress note. Johnny Carson, progress note, skilled nursing, add. So page 8 begins the routine visit or visit note. Let's click these so we can go all the way down. That's still a visit note. Page 10 is a visit note. Page 11 still a visit note. 12, 13, 14, all the way down through the end of the fax to page 15 is the visit note. So we'll put page 15 up here. Let me scroll back to the top so we can see what we're doing. We'll enter visit note. Johnny Carson. Click our Add button once more so it adds that field. Now that we have all the pages sorted from page 1 to page 15, we're ready to process, so we'll just click the Submit button. Processing complete. You may now close the window. And if we refresh this list, that fax has been processed. It's no longer in our list. If you want to go view that fax, you can click this Filter button. Go search for the processed faxes. And here it is, right at the top of our page. If we want to view it again, you can click on here. And eventually it will load and you can view and confirm that that is the actual fax that you just processed. Let's go check on our fax that we sent. And you can see that changed to success. We know it was successfully sent. If you want to download the confirmation page, again, you just click the download button there under the confirmation tab. There's all the details, so we know our fax was transmitted. Okay. On the original webinar that we recorded, there were some questions, so I did want to address those really quickly. The first one was, what if we don't have Adobe Acrobat Pro? If you don't have it, you basically have two options. You can get it from Adobe's website. If you'll just do a search for Adobe. You can download it from Adobe's website, or we are able to take your current fax sheet, fax cover sheet, and we can enter the form fields for you for a charge. I'm not exactly certain of what that charge will be, but that is an option. We will need it in the electronic format. Here's Adobe's website. You can click this download button. And you'll want to find Acrobat. You can actually download a trial here. I believe it's a 30-day trial, so if you wanted to try it out, you can sign up for that. And they will provide you pricing information as well from their website. Okay? Someone asked, why keep a fax cover sheet? The answer I have for that is you might want to keep fax cover sheets for documentation purposes. They also asked, is there any way to delete documents? I am trying to get information on that, so I will be emailing that out soon. Someone asked if Adobe, I'm assuming Acrobat Pro is required. It's not required. There are other PDF, there's other software that you can edit and add form fields with. I don't know any off the top of my head, but there are others out there that you can get an access to create those form fields in your cover sheet. Do you have to save the file on your computer, or can you send a file from MJS1 or from the software? My understanding is that you can. In my experience, I haven't done that yet, and so I'm hoping to get a little more training on that, and we will try to update you on that. Someone had asked, is there any way a user can set up and maintain their own account to send and receive faxes relevant to them? The answer is yes. They just need to go to the account setup, so administration, company settings, components, down to set up HFax accounts, and just like I showed you how I set up the account for myself, grant fax there, that's what you do. But just to show you again, let's say we wanted to set one up for Bill. You'd select Bill Fax, select the fax number to be associated with that. If Bill was one of your users, you would type his username here and you'd click submit. And so that would become Bill's fax. But since Bill's not part of my database, then he can't be set up. Same thing for the users. If you wanted to limit it to a group of users, you do that the same way as was shown in the webinar here. And you'd probably want to name it accordingly. Okay? Can we fax a visit within an episode? I believe the answer to that is yes. Again, that's one that I'm going to have to check into and email back on. In regards to the fax cover sheet, how will the system know which fields to populate? Again, in order for the system to recognize and populate the fields within your uploaded fax cover sheet, you're going to need to have those file forms or those form fields in your cover sheet. And in order to add those form fields, you'll need to edit your cover sheet using Adobe Acrobat Pro or a similar program. And again, we went over that in this webinar. There's also a video that's going to be uploaded that shows you just specifically how to create a fax cover sheet. It'll be much shorter than this webinar if you want to go view that later. Also, they asked, do we need to name the fillable form fields specific names? And the answer to that is yes. When your users are viewing the cover sheet information, that's going to pop up from whatever form you upload into the system, or whatever cover sheet you upload into the system. So if you title a field a recipient's phone number, if that's your title, that's what's going to pop up in the system, and will be populated with the recipient's phone number. So it is important that you name them accordingly. Well, that is all I have for right now on the HFax module. Again, we will be emailing you the answers, the questions and the answers to all the questions that were asked during the webinar. Again, I'd like to point you to our help and support tab. We will be uploading videos very soon. New training videos coming out that have a table of contents feature, so you should be able to control those and kind of skip around in them. We know that some of these webinar videos can be long and tedious, and trying to find the information you need can be rough at times, so we're creating these new videos so that you can jump right where you need to be, get the information you need, and hopefully get in and get out in a timely manner. But again, don't forget about these manuals options. Highly recommend downloading the HFaxing manual and reading through it. It'll give you all the information I gave you today in a step-by-step format. So that's it for our webinar. Thank you. We hope you have a wonderful day.